Oh. Hi, Fernando. Haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, nice to see you. Hello, James.
Hey, Fernando, good to see you.
Hi, Anoop.
Hi, Marcela. Hi, all.
Okay, I guess we have people from the two projects, so we can just get started. Agenda for today. I'm going to share my screen. Just review issues and PRs. Then we need to talk a bit about the moving the service fabric out of the incubator. And then I wanted to share for each of the projects, we have to make a roadmap public. I've been working on the cloud service broker one, and it's still a draft, but I just wanted to share it so to get feedback and also as an example of what we would be doing, so nobody gets upset about it. Is there anything else that someone wants to add to the agenda that would be good to talk about? No? Well. So, yeah. For cloud service broker, I've been going through the old issues and PRs and trying to figure out which ones we could maybe tackle or give an answer to. There's this bug that I think is still current, where you cannot bind two apps to the cloud service broker, two services to the cloud service broker app. And this is an issue when using a Spring Cloud config to provide secrets. Apparently, the cloud service broker just fetches from the backup services whatever is in there as to use as the database and doesn't really look for the right service. So it breaks. Does anyone have any insight on this? George or James?
I mean, there's a possible fix suggested that is how I would try and fix it.
Yes.
Like it should just be like a one-line fix.
Okay.
It probably will turn out to be more complicated, but like conceptually it's simple.
Okay, I'll see if we can do something about this to get it in our roadmap. And then there's this other one about the fact that we are not passing plan ID. I already forgot about it. That we should accept requests that don't have the plan ID in it and just not change the service plan of that service instance.
Yeah, I had a look at this one the other day because the reason being actually there's no comments at all on this one, which is not great. And it does seem, yeah, like we're just not quite being compliant with OSBAPI, where like we're being stricter than OSBAPI requires.
Yes.
And it should, again, conceptually, should be easy to fix. Although it talks about Kubernetes, actually, I don't think you need Kubernetes to recreate it. It's just an OSBAPI thing.
Yeah. Okay. So next steps for these two, I guess, is making sure they are in our backlog and try to prioritize them in IPM.
Agreed. Yeah. Because I think neither of them have tracker tickets, which means that we're ignoring them.
Yeah, they are very old and there was no tracker integration. Yes.
Marcela, about SVCat. So I recently was checking SVCat. I think Kubernetes service they have now. I could not find SVCat in the Helm repo also. I think they Kubernetes SIG is dropping the support for SVCat. I'm not sure, but maybe.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
What is SVCat? Sorry for my lack of knowledge. Is
SVCat
service catalog? Okay.
catalog.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they are dropping it unless there's someone really pushing to maintain it, because it hasn't really have any current maintainers. So they were looking for a place, some other seek to actually take over it, but as no one is claiming ownership on that or asking for anything, they have archived it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, but as George said, so thank you for pointing that out. As George, but I think that mostly we don't need Kubernetes to reproduce this.
Yeah, I think it gives a fair point around the value of it. I actually saw this as perhaps one of those chores that you can give someone who's quite new to the project, because it's probably quite easy. Once you like get through the Kubernetes like context and the fact you don't need it, it's just presumably like an if or a default somewhere in the code. But I think probably the value of fixing it is low, but like we either need to fix it or close it with a reason. And actually it could take more effort to write the reason than it might just to fix it, maybe.
Yeah, we can also decide to just explore it, and if time box it, and if it's not that easy, then just close it. So
Yeah, I think if it's a super easy fix that someone can use as a learning experience, then it's worth doing. If SVCat has been archived, then obviously the value of fixing it to people is going to be lower.
We don't have this.
But like
we don't have this problem with Cloudfoundry, right? Because we always pass the service plan.
That's my understanding. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Kubernetes retired, unfortunately.
We could equally close it saying, hey, SVCat's been archived or retired, so we don't think this is valid anymore. Please reopen if you think it is valid.
Yeah.
Easier than fixing it, I suppose.
There's still there's the fact that we are not completely compliant with the OSV API, and we claim to be. But we could close the bug and raise a tracker ticket.
We're compliant with version 2.13, and I think the latest is 2.16.
Yes.
So I think the thing with OSBAPI compliance is that almost nothing is actually 100% OSBAPI compliant. The question is, like, is it actually a problem? And like, I don't have a strong opinion. I think it could be a nice little task for someone who's like trying to, do their first issue. But I'd equally be happy with closing it.
Okay, we'll chat about it 9 p.m. and see. So PRs, I think we are good with it. There's this PR to default to encrypt the storage that Brett raised. Oh, you commented on it. Thanks, George. Should we just close this?
That's an option. Just to summarize that, if we were creating this service new, then I would absolutely default to encrypted storage. The trouble is if we change a default now, actually, if someone's doing an update service to, let's say, change the amount of storage available, then it would change to be the default behaviors. They might have an unencrypted storage and they just increase the size of it, and then suddenly it ends up encrypted, which is not the behavior they were expecting. And we've got sort of bugs in that area to fix. I think once they're fixed, it might make sense to change the default, but I wouldn't do that today. Given it's so old, I'd also be happy closing it.
Okay, I'll just assign to me, and I'll.
This is a thing we're looking into now, isn't it? This, like.
This is this is no S3, right?
It's not S3.
It's Postgres.
Oh yes, I see.
So
yeah.
it was later on in the roadmap.
Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah. So again, like, and the risk is that Postgres doesn't allow you to switch between encrypted and unencrypted storage. So Terraform, helpfully under the covers, just deletes your existing database and creates you a new one that's compliant, which is an unfortunate behavior from the user perspective, because all they do is try and increase the disk size and they end up with losing all their data. That would be my fear. I haven't tested it. Maybe you can actually just update it.
Yeah, I would just close it, saying that we will tackle that when we get to preview
that's fine.
Postgres, and
I'm totally happy with that as well.
Yeah. I just feel for Brett that we are closing his PR when we will actually maybe do the work, but we need to do further research on that one. Cool. That's for Cloud Service Broker. Volume services, Fernando, now that you're here. I'm a bit uncertain on how volume services is managing both the issues. This issue has been here for a long time that you raised, I think, the replace or add images.
In fact, as you can see, I opened the ticket OPIA, and it's something we have to discuss internally, and it's not blocking or making this malfunction. Mm-hmm. But as part of the work we do in cryogenics, reviewing third-party Docker images is something we want to do and find better solutions eventually for maintainability. So probably you can close this because we have the equivalent in our tracker project if this is making noise for this kinds of meeting. We don't depend on this. So
I mean, if you want to look at this at all, then yes, I'd rather close it. Yep. So it's not that, but yeah. But otherwise, if you need it, it's not nice for us. Like if we know why it's there for, then it's fine.
We don't need it at all. We have another instance in our private tracker.
Okay. Also, like per CCI is something internal, right? Or it's not open, or is it open source as well?
If you open the repository, we can review, but it's a meta repo, so we'll expect it to be private or internal. Yes.
No, it's actually
okay. It's public, but it's not a piece of software on itself. It's a collection of pipelines, etc.
It's a collection of pipelines that you then deploy on a Concourse that is actually not, yes. This is that is private, or is it open source as well?
The set of pipelines have been open since before we acquired this responsibility of maintaining different volume services projects. But the Concourse instance should be open. I don't know if all the pipelines are publicly open. Some of them might be private because we manage all our pipelines in the same Concourse instance. So maybe some of them are open, other aren't.
Okay.
But the ones involved in this repo are the ones related to NFS volume services, SMB volume services, MapFS. All of those are Cloudfoundry projects and are public. So I will take the time to review if those pipelines are publicly available for anyone to see.
Okay. Not all the open source projects pipelines that we have are public anyway. Like Cloud Service Broker doesn't have a public pipeline. We have some GitHub Actions, but it's not public. And I'm not sure. Service Fabrik, it isn't public either, right? The Travis CI that you have. You're muted, Anoop.
Oh, sorry. The Travis CI that we are using is public. Because we have the Travis CI configuration in our repo. YAML travis.yml file. And
that's the only pipeline that you have?
That's the pipeline that, no, we do have some private pipelines as well.
Okay. Yeah, it's not all public.
It's not good.
And I think that's common across the board in Cloudfoundry, so it's not a big deal. Ideally, they would be, but if they use resources from a company or something like that, then maybe it's more difficult to do. And PRs, I know that at this time, the only thing that we have are bumps of dependencies. I don't think I'm just interested to know when the updates are performed, and that as part of process that volume services follows, but not really. I guess at some point you get to update all these dependencies and make a release.
One interesting clarification is some of the PRs you see there are currently blocked. We need to look at them, especially the ones for the boss template. The thing is the underlying Docker image uses an older Ruby version that conflicts with this update. So we are aware of that and we'll look at this. And we released, I think not a month ago, I think we created new releases
for the Tommy.
Exactly. And some of these PRs probably, I don't know if any of these are new. If not, then we will take a look. For example, in Migrate MySQL, probably we need to look at them because I forgot to take a look. But NFS and SMB volume services repos, we have been actively cleaning the PR list for automatic dependency bumps. So this list should be reduced soon.
Yeah, there are only a few new. There are only 4 new apart from those 2. They are all new.
Okay. And in terms of releases, we are trying to standardize the time between releases. So you should expect more frequent and more stable periods in which we wait 2-3 weeks and release a new version with all the updates.
Okay, like what cadence do you have now?
Right now we are trying to improve the automatic process so the cadence is stable and fixed, but measuring the team workload that we have currently, we could expect maybe once a month or more or less to release each of the products. That's our goal as we do it manually. But when we start doing more automatically, we should be able to adjust this, hopefully.
That's great. Cool. So everything that is is being taken care of, and we shouldn't worry and expect regular, frequent cadence soon.
Yeah.
Cool.
Exactly.
Going then to Service Fabrik. We have been discussing a lot of the issues and PRs, so I think last time we got two message on this one to add the plan ID and labels on the plan CRD because the ECC CLA, the CLA was not assigned and we didn't hear back also.
We did not get, no, there was no response.
Yeah, so I don't know what's the standard procedure when the contributor doesn't sign. I guess it's just not merge it and maybe we should close it. I will ask around just in case, but
it's a very small change. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a small change and you want it up from the from the comments in the PR. So it's a pity, but I'll ask around if it can be merged anyway or not. And then we had talked about the bumps and
yes. So we will have a release, I think, by next week, next 2 weeks. So I think during the release, I think we will take care of all the bumps. Mostly, that's all this. And the update by sync tool. I have closed most of this because it's already taken care, and most of the PRs were having. It was already taken care, so I closed most of them.
okay.
Yeah, I did it just now, so I think sometime.
The automation has to run close. Great. One thing is the last time you were wondering about Travis of the PRs make your quota feel like you have all the dependency bumps PRs taking up all your quota for Travis, and I was wondering if you had a chance to review that or a plan for some alternatives.
No. Thank you for sharing the details on Github Actions. So I think we should look into it, but now we could not this time. Maybe and soon we will look into it.
The options that I can think of apart from getting more budget for Travis, I don't know how that's managed inside your company, but is the community has budget for a Concourse instance, so you could be migrating for Concourse, but we have to set it up ourselves and maintain it ourselves. The GitHub Actions option, if that's feasible for you. And there's also reviewing how the dependabot PR updates are being PR, like if you maybe want to get rid of the patch updates, you can configure that in dependabot if that solves the issue. It's probably not recommended, but you will still have patch updates for security issues. And then you would get PRs just for dependency bumps from minor and major versions. That could be an option if you have a very noisy dependency. And you can also do that for a particular dependency.
Okay, means I can add some, we can, if we don't, we can configure dependabot so that it will not for that noisy dependencies, right? Yeah.
Those are also options to get enhanced. Also, the caveat is that your dependencies wouldn't be that up to date, but being that security patches, you would still get the PRs for those, then I wouldn't be so concerned.
Okay.
I don't know if anyone else in the call has other ideas. Cool. Anything else, Anoop?
No, I think.
Yeah.
Good there.
So next was to talk about the moving to out of the incubator. I managed to merge the PR requesting access for all of you in Service Fabrik, everyone that we talked about. But I still don't see anyone added to the foundation, to the Cloudfoundry org. So I would need you and your team to check if you got the invites and accept them.
Okay, yeah.
Because otherwise I don't think I see.
Okay. I checked today sometime back in my GitHub profile, but I could see only the Cloudfoundry incubator invite. Maybe in a day or two it might come. If you, or maybe I'm looking at the wrong place. Mostly.
I think that just when you go into Cloudfoundry, if you go into the Cloudfoundry org, if you log into GitHub, you should get a banner on the top, an alert on the top saying that you have an invite.
I saw the banner, but it says Cloudfoundry incubator.
That's weird. Maybe you can sync up after this.
Yeah, yes.
Maybe, and you can show me so that we can raise it, find what, because you're already part of Cloudfoundry incubator, so
yeah,
it's weird that you have an invite. Maybe it's a messaging thing or something like that. Well, that's currently what is blocking us. And once we have every one of you with access to the org and all the groups created, then we can plan for the transfer, which I believe that probably if you have a release, you will want to wait until the release, but happens. But we can talk about once that everything is in place.
Okay.
There's yesterday, Chris asked in the TOC meeting also about the Travis app, and nobody knows about side effects. So we will probably expect something to happen and maybe you need to reconfigure the app. But nobody had that, so we don't know.
That's fine. You can.
Okay. The last thing I wanted to share was we should have, I have the tab open somewhere, but we should have the it's coming to me, the roadmaps published for all the projects. There's no rush in that, but we need to provide visibility. I guess that the volume services is easy because it's mostly just dependency upgrades, and there's nothing we will be working on unless we actually have some requests from the community that we deem important. But apart from that, we would need that for Cloud Service Broker, and for Service Fabrik, and probably for OSB API, although it's not clear yet. I was working in the Cloud Service Broker one, and just to give everyone a feeling on how it looks like, and it's really very high level. Like I just put the epics here, and because I we are not managing the project through GitHub, but through Tracker. I just made draft cars here, so they are not issues in the GitHub project. And I just added some very slim description and a link, because our tracker is public, a link to the tracker epic, so everyone can just take a look at which stories are there. And well, this is a story actually. I may click in the wrong example. Maybe this one. So you can see everything that is being worked on, what has been finished, and everything as part of here. Closing all of it as part of that. So because otherwise the overhead of maintaining the roadmaps in public is too much. We don't want, if we have some internal tracking, we don't want to be duplicating that work. So that would be the idea, just a very high level description on a GitHub project with some place more to get information from. I don't know, Anoop, for example, for Service Fabrik, who could I be working on to set up this? Is if it's you or Swati?
I think Swati might know more about the roadmap, but I will, Swati might be the right person.
Yeah.
It will,
yeah, if you can let them know, like, that we need to work on this, so we can get in touch and talk about it a little bit. And what's currently in the Cloud Service Broker roadmap is we are working on being able, the Cloud Service Broker uses Terraform to provide services in AWS, GCP, and Azure. So we're currently working on making possible to upgrade the Terraform version that the broker uses. And then working on, because most of the services are like in a beta or preview state, we are working on improving and harnessing the test suite and making sure everything is production ready, service by service. So next in line is the S3 offering. And for the future, we also have Postgres and some bits for the GCP, like MySQL and Redis, and making sure all the 3 offerings that we have are at the latest Terraform version. So that would be like an ambitious plan for the year, very high level. And there's not much detail, it's just what's prioritized, what's in our mind, upcoming, trying to get it in some order, and then what's in progress and done. It might be worth it in the case of the Terraform upgrades, maybe to split it a bit more, because from our perspective as a company, maybe it's a lot of nothing, but for people in the community, maybe knowing the features that we are implementing at a lower level is useful for them to catch up. But that would be the only improvement that I would do to this before actually making it public. Any questions or suggestions? Yeah. Okay, so that's all we have in the agenda. So unless someone wants to talk about anything else, we can get 25 minutes back. Great. Thanks everyone for attending, and see you next time.
Marcela.
Thank you. Thank you.